to spread the message of Jesus Christ by using our gifts to glorify God in every sphere of influence. Let's influence the earth by bringing heaven to earth and living a lifestyle of demonstration and power. Only then will we begin to see real change. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good to see you guys, and welcome to our thankful service. We are so excited to be celebrating this special time with our community. Those of you guys who are part of the APOM community, those of you guys who stream with us every week, or those of you guys who are connected to us via Instagram, TikTok, however you connect with the APOM community, we are thankful for you. So we want to thank you for streaming with us, being a part of our events. Thank you for allowing us to pour into you, minister to you, pray over you. Listen, we don't take that lightly in this community, okay? So we are always so privileged and honored to be able to pour into your lives. So we just want to say thank you. I personally, the founder of the APOM community, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all of the love, all of the feedback, all of the emails that we get. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And the only thing that I want you guys to do on today is I want you to begin to think about something that you're thankful for. And I know that it sounds cliche, but the Bible tells us that we are to give thanks in every circumstance. And so how many of you guys can say that you don't always probably give thanks as much as you should? I've learned to make it a habit, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how irritated I am, frustrated I am, or just over it. I always just find a moment to say thank you. And so I just want to give us a moment in this space just to tell God thank you. Just to tell God thank you, especially while we're here on one accord. Can we just say, God, thank you? God, we just thank you. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you. I am seeing the comments come in. You guys are telling us what you're thankful for. Someone said, Jasmine said, you are thankful for your family. Please let us know what you are thankful for. Today, I'm just thankful for God's faithfulness. And I know that sounds cliche, but I'm telling you, He has been good. And so I'm thankful for his faithfulness. And throughout this stream, you can let us know what you are thankful for, and we'll put it up here. So Jasmine's thankful for her family. Jamie says she's thankful for her family. She agrees with Jasmine. You'll get to hear what many of our speakers are thankful for on tonight. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear their testimonies. Keisha says she's thankful for her sanity. Amen. That's something to be thankful for sure. But tonight we have a special treat for you guys. The women that we have here are going to share what they are thankful for in the form of a testimony. So we get to hear their testimonies on tonight. We know that it's going to be something that's going to be encouraging, eye-opening, and something that all of us can relate to. So while you have time, go ahead and share this stream with someone who just needs to hear a testimony. Send it to your favorite girlfriend. Send it to someone who needs the encouragement. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to share our testimonies. We're going to laugh. We're going to love. We're going to encourage you guys. And we also have some time towards the end of this stream where you get to ask some questions, or you get to get involved in the stream. And we are going to answer some of your questions here on the stage. Hi, Cassandra. I have you here. You said, I'm thankful for my family and for God keeping me together. That's definitely something to be thankful for. Jamie says, living and well. Amen. Hi, Kelly. Nice to see you. Good to see our APOM fam hopping on in here with, well, without further ado, we'll bring our first speaker to the stage. I'll bring her up with me really quickly before I give her the floor. Jeannine, how are you? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm just unmuted.
Okay. Good.
I'm
Well,
doing
you
good.
guys know, if you may not be familiar, Jeannine, she leads the intercession here with APOM, and everybody always compliments her prayers. They love when you pray. And she's been such a huge blessing to the APOM community. And she has so much to share that tonight I'm so excited to just see where she's going to pour from. So, Jeannine, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mel. Hi, everybody. I see everybody putting all their thankful comments in, and I agree with everything that you guys are saying. Literally, I'm thankful so much for just God's goodness. I'm so thankful for God's goodness and how amazing He is and how consistent He is. And tonight, we're supposed to be sharing our testimonies. And I typically do my testimony about how God helped me come out of New Age. And He just showed me who Jesus Christ was. And I was able to give my life to Christ and have a fresh start with my life. But I honestly didn't want to tell that specific testimony because you guys can actually go find that on the APOM YouTube channel and just watch that testimony and hear that story. But today's testimony, which is something that I feel is actually very new, that the Lord revealed to me, is how God broke off the generational curse of sickness in my family, starting with me. And the reason why the Lord wanted me to share this with you all is because I don't know who is dealing with health issues or sickness, or you may have had multiple people in your family get a diagnosis of some type of illness. And it just may seem like, Lord, what am I supposed to do? How do I become the curse breaker? How do I become the matriarch in the family that changes the trajectory of how we've been living for so many generations? And so I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my background. It is a part of my other testimony, how I came out of New Age, but the Lord had showed me just how good He is in regards to healing the body. And the other day I started speaking to my grandmother, who I do not have like a very close relationship with. We communicate here and there, but we lost touch and lost communication on my mother's side after she passed away from breast cancer. My mom passed away from stage 4 breast cancer, and my father passed away from stage 4 kidney failure, which is renal failure. And to see both of my parents pass away from illness, and for them to have battled for so long with mental and physical illnesses, it was almost a responsibility of mine to be the person that didn't go through that and to end that cycle and end that curse in our bloodline. with my actions and my choice to surrender to God. But I spoke to my grandmother the other day, and she had sent me pictures of my mom as a younger girl and just wedding photos of my parents. And it was such a nostalgic experience, even though I wasn't there in those moments. But it brought me back to the time that she was a child, the a moment of thought that the woman who gave me life was once a child, the woman that gave birth to me and to my siblings and who ran our household was once a young girl just like me, and was once a little girl and a baby who was codependent on her mother. And it just brought so much reality to the fact that your mother and your father, they're so human just like you. And though they may not intend for you to ever battle the things that they battled, we typically go through the same things that they go through unless there's somebody who's willing to change the trajectory of the family. And I share this with you guys because as I was speaking to my grandmother, I thanked her for the photos and I just let her know that I appreciated her for reaching out and actually sending them to me because it gave me perspective of who my mother was. And as we got to speak, she spoke to me about her mother. My grandmother spoke to me about her mother, and then her mother's mother, and her mother's mother. And come to find out all of these women in my bloodline on my mother's side all passed away from cancer. And it was like a revelation that came to me that this is how the enemy has tried to kill the light on this family, to kill the light in the women, to break the women in my family. And he gave me a revelation that I am the last one who will ever deal with that. I'm the last one who will ever experience the battle for my life the way that those women had to do it. And the Lord just showed me, because my previous testimony was about coming out of New Age and how I got into holistic health and was plant based for many years, 6 years to be exact. Lost a lot of weight, went through a lot of highs and lows in my health journey. But the Lord showed me that where one person may not be strong enough to break a cycle, the strength they had trickles down. So back all the way to my great 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 grandmother who passed away from cancer, and my grandmother who was telling me this story, who battled pancreatic cancer and is still alive today. There was a strength that they passed down to me that I will be able to carry from the grace of God, and that strength is Jesus Christ. They all serve the Lord. They all knew who their father was. They may have been afraid, they may have been fearful, they may have been sick, they may have even died, but their strength passed down by teaching me about Jesus Christ. And I wanted to share this specific testimony because if it was not for God, I would not have the knowledge and the wisdom to take care of my body. And I wouldn't have the strength and the courage to get through the deaths that I experienced as a woman, as a single mother, as a daughter. And one of the verses that I wanted to pull up for tonight was, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever we may face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." And so I don't know who needed to hear this testimony, whether it be about your health, or maybe the generational curses on your finances, maybe the generational curses on your mental health, maybe the generational curse is on your attitude and your perspective, maybe the generational curse is on your children, maybe it's on your husbands, maybe it's on single mothers or single fathers, or families who constantly end up in divorce. Maybe the curse is your words and your mouth and how you spit death onto your situations with your tongue. I want you to understand that the way you defeat the enemy and the way you end that cycle is by considering your trials and your tribulations as pure joy. By looking at everything from a specific perspective that constantly redeems your situation as something to be glorifying God in. Because even though I would have preferred not to have experienced this many losses in my family and have had to go through so many trials and had to figure out so many things on my own, struggle and strive as an orphan in the physical world, I had the opportunity to look at things from the perspective of this is my testimony. This is the story of how it ends with me. This is how I'll reroute the bloodline with my son. This is how we'll end the curse. This is how I'm going to help other people heal. This is my story that's going to represent that it's possible, that God is still faithful, that God is still real, that God is still healing, that God is still doing the very same thing that we prayed for many, many, many years ago. And that the prayers that my mother and her mother and her mother and her mother prayed over this bloodline did not go in vain with me. And so, as I share this testimony with you, I want you to be encouraged that just because it's on your bloodline doesn't mean it has to stay in it. And that we have a responsibility to glorify God even in the darkest times. God bless you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Janae. What a powerful testimony. And we're going to be bringing Janae back up towards the end, and we get to dive a little bit deeper into her testimony. And so, whatever questions you may have, you guys don't forget to write them down, and you guys get to answer them. Excuse me, you get to ask them towards the end, and Janae will be able to respond. So, thank you so much, Janae, for sharing. Next, we have the beautiful Jeannine. She is with us on tonight and she's going to be sharing her testimony. And so, Jeannine, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. It's such an honor to be here this evening and talk to you all. My story is my testimony and how I am thankful for God delivering me from mental illness. So, my story begins when I was a little girl. Um, I was diagnosed with a mental illness, and that was something that I dealt with for most of my adolescence until I became an adult and decided that um, I didn't want to seek treatment for that any longer. So, throughout my life, this mental illness popped up in different ways from me being rebellious to catching different charges, just not really caring about a lot of things. And in my story, one of those charges was a felony DUI, and it caused me to go through this time of reflection. I lost my license. I was put on house arrest. Um, I decided during that time to stop drinking. And when I stopped drinking, I picked up on this creativity that I had never really tapped into before. And when I first discovered this gift, I was so stuck in my pain that I was using it to glorify things of the world. I was promoting smoking marijuana. I would paint things like numb to the pain, just promoting a lifestyle of being stuck in your pain versus healing. And it wasn't until I hit a rock bottom of sorts when I got pregnant with my youngest son. His father was incarcerated soon after I found out that I was pregnant. And after I had him, I found out that I would be a single mom. His father was not coming home anytime soon. And I reached this level of desperation in my mental health where I was suicidal. I was reaching out for help from just about anybody who would listen, whether it be doctors, caseworkers, just anyone. I was like begging for help because I just knew that something was not right with me. The way that I was feeling, the way I was feeling towards my kids, I felt like I just had no joy in being a mom. I just didn't want to do it. And I really didn't know what else to do. I was at the point of just giving up. and someone referred me to a local church and a pastor. And it was during that time and having my son, I found out that I have a hormone related mood disorder after having him. But really pushed me to find out the why behind why I was going through what I was going through, why I have struggled with these things my entire life and they're not getting any better. It's only getting worse. And so I found the answers I was looking for in a mentorship class that I did with Pastor Veronica Dixon. And it really pushed me to that deeper why. And I started to feel the push and the conviction of God to change what I was doing, to change my whole business model, to start creating art that honored Him. And so I changed my business name, my business model, and I'm now operating just only in the spirit. I basically let him lead me and tell me what he wants me to do, what he wants me to create. Um, but this is something that like I said, I struggled with um, all of my life. It's something that my parents struggled with, their parents struggled with. It's definitely a generational curse that no one really had the knowledge or understanding to realize that a lot of it is a spiritual battle. And so it took a lot of times of isolation, a lot of times people turning their back on me and me feeling like I was really just alone. Um, and that is the time that God showed up the most for me. And so I have something that I actually worked on. This was a year ago. But it's like a little garden and it's showing um, what I want my healing to look like. So for one is breaking the silence for mental health, and that's what I'm doing right now. Um, Healing in the youth community. And one thing that God has done in this season is to allow me to facilitate and help lead a group of young girls aged 13 to 17 in our community that come to our church. They teach or they learn about the Bible, they learn about the things that they're struggling with. They learn about the things that I struggled with when I was younger that I didn't have anyone to talk to about, or just understand why I was feeling these big emotions and what exactly I was supposed to do with them. Um, the other thing here is just staying in the church, in the community, and also keeping self-compassion in the forefront. So I just want to I just want to encourage anyone who may be struggling in this season with their mental health. Um, I know it can be scary. I know that it can feel very alone. I know that it's easier to isolate than to go out, but I want to encourage someone and tell them that the isolation is where the enemy is creeping in. You need your sisters. And even this past week, or even in the past month, I've kind of stepped back and not done as many things in the church because I'm just focusing on getting these jobs done. And by myself is not where it's at. I need my community. Community is so important because we face a real devil, and we are fighting as daughters of the King. We are fighting a spiritual battle, and He does not want us to reach our fullest potential of our gifts. And so we have to stay together. We have to band together, and really be there to encourage each other when we see each other being a little bit distant. I just really want to encourage you guys to have that community. And that's why I love this community, that we don't even have to be all in the same city or in the same room, but can still have that support for each other. So I just want to encourage someone with my story today. You know, God can use the most broken pieces of you to build you into something beautiful and make you into a masterpiece. I thought a few years ago when I first got this felony charge, I was a single mom again, and I was just totally fed up with myself and just couldn't believe that, you know, there was grace for me. But that is where God showed up once again and showed me that His grace is sufficient for me. And it is that grace that has carried me through. I'm now creating prophetic paintings. I'm painting on clothing for my pastors to wear while they preach. And it is truly just an honor. And I thank you guys for allowing me to share my story. And I hope that it did encourage someone this evening.
Thank you so much for sharing. Talk about turning your pain into purpose, Jeannine. Thank you so much. I definitely can't wait to dive more into your testimony, and we will be bringing her also back to the panel. So if you guys have questions for her, please write them down. And we are going to bring up our last and final speaker before that panel. Thank you so much again, Jeannine. We're going to be bringing up our very own Coach Melanie to the stage. Welcome, welcome, Coach Melanie. We're so excited to have you. We are excited. We're anticipating to hear your testimony. We know that God has done some amazing things in your life. So you have the floor.
Oh, as soon as I was about to get the floor, Holy Spirit changed my flow. So everything I had wrote down, y'all, he told me to change it just now. But hello, I am Melanie. I am thankful for God delivering me from manic bipolar depression. I am thankful for a sound mind. I am so thankful for a sound mind. And that's what I was going to talk about. But I'm going to switch directions and I'm going to talk about the testimony. My testimony is going to talk about me being delivered from systematic religion. Um, which is this is the first time I'm ever, I think, talking about this in this way, but I have really found freedom in Jesus. And I think that he deserves all of the credit for it. I grew up pastor's daughter in a Baptist church. And baby, I was Baptist. I was everything Baptist, everything you want to hear. I was director of the choir. I knew how to wear the mask, baby. I knew how to wear it. And I'm not saying anything against, the Baptists or anything like that. I'm just saying my experience and how God changed my life. I love the church, but God showed me through learning about him and knowing who he is, that my relationship, I had to go a little deeper than surface level. And once I started really studying, really getting to know God for myself, really being open and free in my spiritual space, he began to really reveal some things to me. Holy Spirit really has had his way in my life and is still teaching me. And I know a lot of people talk about deconstructing. And they talk about deconstructing their faith, and that's the new term is deconstructing. And a lot of people are going to New Age, and a lot of people they have we've heard from Jeannine that there's a whole world with the New Age, and not just New Age, but all the different things. I think witchcraft is getting way more prevalent. We just did a series on it, but God really had to give me a deeper, like he had to give me a deeper dive spiritually. But I was stuck in systematic culture for a very long time, and I did not think that going deeper was the way that I should go. I was like, I should stay away from that part of it. Because we always kind of brush the Jesus off. We always brush the supernatural. We brush those things off, and it was because of fear. And I was brought up in a place where I felt like I was taught fear, taught how to fear everything, fear being sick, fear everything, fear getting in trouble, fear everything, anything outside of the four wall church. You fearful of, because it's that control factor. But now I'm at a space where I am free. The way that I got free, one of the ways that I got free, because it's been a journey. It's a journey to getting to know Jesus. And so the first thing I did was I did um, a really, I fasted for the first time. And during that fast, I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I felt like there was a whole nother world. There was, it seemed like the grass was greener. It seems like the flowers were more colorful. All the colors were a different color. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what is this? And I didn't know back then what was happening, but it was God giving me like a picture, a glimpse of who he was. And I feel like that was the beginning of my journey of learning who Jesus was, who he is, who he calls me to be, what he requires from us in the kingdom. And I don't think that I was ever open to it because I was fearful of it when I was in the systematic way. And so now I feel free. I feel like, and that's the testimony. That's the part about it where I feel like God is really moving now because, I'm having dreams and I'm studying his word and I'm learning the essence of him and not just reading it just to know it, but I'm reading it to live it. And that is what we have to get away from. We have to get away from reading it just to be knowledgeable about the word. We really have to dive deeper in the word and believe it and have faith and really walk in what God called us to walk in. So I'm very excited that I don't attest to the systematic way. I have a real authentic relationship with God, and in all of that, He has healed my mind. I too have a generational past of disorder, mental disorders in my family. And I too am a curse breaker for my family, because I just decided that we are not going to go on in another direction of mental illness. My kids will not be affected by this. I am going to teach them how to war in the spirit, but I had to be taught how to war in the spirit. And so I can't teach them something that I don't know. And so I held myself accountable. I had people and wise counsel around me that taught me how to be accountable, and help me to walk that journey. We do need people to help us walk our journeys. And so APOM is um, a great place for us to walk our journeys. I've been blessed to be surrounded by the women that I've been surrounded with, and I'm so grateful that I am, because they hold me accountable and I hold them accountable. And when we feel each other getting off, we pray for each other to get right. We have conversations and keep it real with each other, but we are all growing together in unison, and I think that is so amazing. So yeah, so that's the testimony God wanted me to give. Just if I can encourage you, if you are, and I'm not saying anything against any church at all. I'm just saying that make sure that you are the church. Make sure that you are living the life that is God designed for you to live. If you don't know what that life is, just pick up your Bible and begin to read it. And God will literally teach you, walk you through who he is. And you just have to open yourself up and say, God, show me who you are. Show me who you want me to be. Show me who you created me to be. Help me to fall out of this. I deconstructed from the system. I did not deconstruct from Jesus. I picked him up on my journey. And so I hope that helps someone. I hope that if you are feeling weighed down by church and practice, that you take a moment, step away for yourself, and give yourself some freedom in the Lord through His Word and in prayer. So thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Melanie. Listen, I think we've all have had our moments of deliverance from systematic religion, all of us. And if not, we all need to have it yearly to make sure that we're not practicing, but we are really living that life. And so that's the difference between a relationship with God or systematic religion. And so I am going to be bringing our wonderful guest speakers up tonight who share their wonderful testimonies. You guys did amazing. We really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And so we're going to go ahead and dive a little deeper into these testimonies. And I wanted to point out something, and I know that many of us probably noticed, but every speaker here tonight had one thing in common, and that was mental illness, right? Or some form of mental health. And because it is so prevalent in today's society, so many people, so many believers are struggling with mental health. And a lot of churches do not have a space for it. Some churches believe, it's just the spirit, cast it out. Some churches are coupling it with therapy and deliverance. And some just don't address it at all. And I'll start with who I see on my end, Miss Jeannine. What do you recommend for the believer who is struggling with their mental health?
So you made some really valid points, first off, but I'll tell you what I recommend. What I recommend for someone who's struggling with their mental health is you definitely need to look at your background first. You need to look at your background and see, are you the only one dealing with it? Number one, there's usually a stigma around mental health, especially in families where there's cultural differences sometimes. And it's just this unsaid, secretive thing that nobody gets to talk about. And I would actually look and see or ask or even inquire or just try to find out some information about your background. Because number one, you're usually not the only person in your family dealing with it. It's usually you and everybody else too, or directly your mother or your father, or directly your siblings. If you can find a resource of someone in your household who may be struggling with what you're going through, that number one starts answering some questions for you. Okay, this is not just a me thing, this is a thing, and it's in our family. And number two, seeking help. There's a stigma around getting help. There's a stigma around getting therapy. There's a stigma around communicating about getting therapy. And I think now it's more normalized, but I still believe that we have this perception that God can heal all things, which He can, but we don't have to do anything about it. And so when we want our mental health to be in a position where we get to glorify God for the things He's calling us to do and to be able to function and live an everyday life, some people are like, I don't even care right now about glorifying God. I just want to live today. And then tomorrow I'll check on Jesus. It gets that bad to where you can't even think about living in your purpose or your gift. And so I would just say, seeking help and first looking around to see if you're the only one in your family who's experiencing this. Because that part where deliverance is going to come in is that you can go see a mental health therapist or a mental health counselor. You can go get medications. You can go up to the doctor and you'll get all these little external things. And then you're still, like Jeannine said, I hope I pronounced it right. You're still struggling and battling. And you're like, wait a minute, why am I still doing, like, I took the meds. I did the therapy. I stopped taking the meds because it was making me worse. I I went to the church. I gave my life to Jesus. He said I'm healed. Why am I still struggling? Because you might have a demonic entity attached to you that knows that that's the family's weakness. And you do have to go through that deliverance. You do have to get support. People have to know what you're battling. And you have to get right and consistent with God, because He is going to be your spiritual armor, while therapy and support may be your physical armor.
So good. So good. Thank you so much. And so I love how you gave us spiritual and you gave us practical. The two have to go together,
Together.
according to Dr. Janae here. Doctor on you. I do have a question for Melanie in regards to mental illness. So, as Janae said, you've done all of this work. You've gone to church. You've gone to therapy, and sometimes I feel like we don't often realize that we may still have to battle that thing, that it's not going to go away overnight. So, what would you say, or what steps would you give someone to combat the thought soon as you feel like mental health is coming on, you're having that day, where you're like, oh, my feelings are not good. No, this day is not good. You're just not feeling it. How do we, since we have authority over that thought, we have authority over that feeling, how do we combat that? Do you have any steps or any advice that you would give us?
I would say know your triggers. I would say learn yourself. You have to learn yourself. You have to know what triggers you. Once you get to a place where you understand where you are mentally, you you understand, okay, I'm getting to a place where I'm feeling like something is off, something's not right. Or you may have a thought into your brain that you need to combat with another thought. um, I think that knowing your triggers is very important, because when you know your triggers, you can know, okay, so right now, this is just an example. So when I get cluttered in my brain, I start to see, okay, I'm starting to overthink things. I'm starting to get cluttered. The things around me are starting to get cluttered. And so I know that's an indication that I am wearing weight that's not mine. I'm God's weight. I'm trying to wear his weight. I cannot wear his weight. And so that's an indication to me where I need to sit down. I need to sit down. I need to talk to either the therapist, or sit down and be quiet for a minute and let God talk, but or have a trusted person that you go to, whether that is a spiritual leader, a disciple, whoever you have in your life that you trust and can they have a relationship, a kingdom relationship. Those things matter, to have support, even if it's one person, to have that support, to be there like, hey, I'm having a moment and I need to calm down. So I think the first thing I would say is knowing your triggers. And then the second thing is, what are you wearing on your plate that does not belong to you? Give it back to God.
That's good. That's good. Identifying your triggers. That's important. And then lastly, Jeannine, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you have a creative outlet. How important? Hi, baby. We love the babies here at APOM. Okay. Hey. How important would you say utilizing an outlet? Because there are bad outlets, right? Some people have their vices where they may depend on alcohol, they may depend on weed or whatever, your vice may be. But how positive or helpful is it for you to find your outlet, to kind of express those feelings, or finding that moment of solace where you have peace and something that you enjoy doing, maybe to take your mind off of what's going on around you? How important is it to find an outlet? And what are some good outlets that people may not be aware of that you can probably recommend?
Yeah, so the creative outlet has been super important to me. I've tried the medication route, and I feel like it's almost the equivalent to that for me. It really helps to kind of slow my thoughts down when I'm able to really focus and concentrate on something with my hands. I find that my mind tends to slow down then. So I also have something in my notes that I call my mental health toolkit. So I know that, and I like, kind of funny, I also labeled it things that you don't want to do, but you need to do because they're going to make you feel better. So that's for an example, like doing something creative. It doesn't have to be painting or sewing. You can go to Michael's or a craft store, and they have so many different options of things that you can get into, just to find that creative outlet of something to do with your hands. On top of that, I also have in my mental health toolkit to just go outside, do some sort of grounding. I know it's getting cold out, but we can still bundle up and go outside for a little bit, get that sunlight on our faces that we need. And then also a game changer for me in the last year has been throwing on worship music. You really just don't realize until you do it how much that can just change the tone, change the narrative in your head, and really kind of break you out of that depression that you might be in.
It's muted.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. But yes, I feel like the mental health toolkit is important. And I love that you have that. And I honestly feel like that answers so many questions because we always have solutions. And just like everyone says, you know what those triggers are and you have to work at it. And so I feel like when you feel those moments coming on, maybe you guys can create your mental health toolkit. If you're having a bad day, if your mind is becoming too crowded, or if you just need a moment, I definitely will keep that in mind, my mental toolkit. And don't forget, guys, you in the comments, I'm looking for some questions. If you don't have any, I'm gonna move on to mine. So the second question I have for you guys had another common interest, which was breaking generational curses or being the first generation curse breaker. And so I'll start with you, Melanie. um we know that sounding, we all say, oh, I'm breaking generational curses, yes, I'm breaking them all, but we don't realize what that means. We don't realize how dangerous it is to be a curse breaker. And so although it's become such the term online and such the meme that everybody's using, can you talk about some of the dangers of being a curse breaker?
Yeah, your mental health. Baby, listen, curse breaking ain't for the meek. When you are getting ready to go in there and breaking generational things, the enemy is getting real pissed off. He's getting mad. And so he's going to send his goons. That's what he going to do. And if you are not prepared for that, and if you are not girthed up in the word, if you are not aware of who you are in his kingdom, and if you are not aware of who he is, they will eat you up, chew you up, and spit you out. And that is just the end of that. When it comes to generational curse breaking, I think that the first thing you need to do is ask God, like, how do I do this? So that he can get your body and your mind and your soul and your spirit ready for that, because that is serious warfare. That is serious warfare, and it's not for the meek. It's tiring. It's a lot of work. It is worth every moment of deliverance. It is worth everything that you put into it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Because it also takes time. It takes time. It didn't take 2 years for a generational curse to be planted in your generation. So it's gonna take you a minute to get it cut off. So you just have to be patient. You have to know who your God is, and you have to be ready. You have to have your full armor on.
Good. That's all good. Yes, it is real in the field. But as she said, it is so very worth it. Your deliverance is worth the fight. Jeannine, you also talked about breaking generational curses of sickness in your bloodline, and you spoke about how it rested on the women. Now, yours, I believe your generational curse was very evident. You were able to see like this woman, that woman, this woman, this woman. Okay, so I see how the enemy is moving. What are some things people can look for as far as patterns and how a curse is affecting the bloodline? Maybe if they don't have all women, maybe it's affecting both sides. Maybe it's affecting just the children. What are some things that we should look for when it comes to a generational curse?
So, first off, I think that sometimes we'll identify a generational curse because it is so evident, but we don't look at the root of some of those things, right? So, the curse may have come through sickness in the family, and it may have come specifically through cancer on that female side, but it also comes through sickness on my father's side as well, because they're both deceased from ill health issues. But one of the things I think we need to look at is what caused the illness, right? Because it's not just you just wake up and you're sick, right? Some people, yes, they have been born with terminal illnesses. They're born with illness, that they didn't really have a hand in trying to prevent those things as much as possible. But something that I learned in health school was just predisposition. And so that word is so powerful when I learned about it in health, because predispositions mean you're predisposed. You're pretty much exposed to something prior to you being able to even do anything that could affect it, right? So predispositions are also spiritual, right? You might be predisposed to mental health issues because you also struggle with finances. You might be predisposed to financial issues because you struggle with mental health issues. There's so much more of a root to mental health and sickness and depression and all these things that we call generational curses. And I think that's what we need to really look at, because one of the things that I feel we're still working on in the bloodline over here is our mindset. Because even though we may have broken the curse of the illness by me saying, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to take care of my body, I'm not going to live, the way they lived, I'm still a worrier, I'm still a stressor, I'm still a Lord, you sure you said that? And so that part of breaking generational curses is actually more important than you not being sick, because sometimes the things aren't so evident that we're battling. And I just had a revelation the other day connected to the other revelation, like, wow, there's other things that I'm suffering from that have been bonding all of us. And it's not just this one area. And some of them are so connected and they're not very evident. They're very sneaky, very sneaky. It's just like people say, creeping depression, right? It can just creep up on you one day. And what Melanie said was so important, because when you are in the position to say, I'm going to be the curse breaker, and you're proclaiming that, you do have to be in position for warfare. And I will just say, one of the tips that has helped me in most of the situations that I'm fighting spiritually, I know community is important, but isolation and time with God is just as important. Your mind has to be so clear that even the voices coming to you from people you love, the enemy can't use them. Because I have been more so to me than the people that I don't really spend that much time with. And so we have to definitely value community, honor our sisters and our brothers, but we have to stay prayed up for ourselves and for them. And we have to go and check in with God every once in a while and say, Lord, can we do an evaluation of where I'm at and who I'm with? And just, if anybody is being used without their knowledge, can you reveal that to both of us so we both can get help? And I can help them, they can help me. Because these generational curses are not just connected to a thing, they're connected to behaviors and people and mindsets and patterns. And some of the things that we can't see are the curse. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. So good. So many powerful nuggets. Jeannine, I wanted to also ask you, Janae touched on it a little bit when she talked about just isolation, but I want to ask you specifically, when you are breaking generational curses, sometimes you have to detach from family, friends, things that you once loved. And sometimes we don't realize how important that is to our spiritual journey, to have to detach to those things while we are breaking generational curses. Can you talk about some of the challenges of you having to say goodbye to your loved ones, or walk away from your loved ones or people that you hang with, so that you can focus on getting the help that you need spiritually and breaking those curses, so that you wouldn't go back to a down spiral or go back to those things that you were delivered from?
Yes, well, when I first decided that I was going to stop drinking and going out and stuff like that, that was the number one, fall away, where everybody just kind of disappeared. And then also me having my youngest son, it's definitely been a period of isolation where I've had to learn that a lot of the people that said that they were going to be there and help me and stuff like that, it's just not that way. And so it's definitely been a challenge, but um there have been times where I've been lonely, but those are the times that I call on God. And I use his word and call on him. You said that you would comfort the brokenhearted. And so there have definitely been challenges as far as just feeling lonely. I struggle to not be bitter that I'm here doing this all by myself, and then on top of it, trying to run a business, not being sure day to day, like, whether I should file for disability or whether I should just pursue my business. It's been a roller coaster for sure. And just not really knowing day to day what I should do, what's the best decision for my family. Um, so yeah, it's definitely come with its challenges. I've had to fight the loneliness, not fight, just being around somebody just to have somebody around. I've totally been doing the entrepreneur stuff by myself. I go and do events. I set everything up by myself. I'm supposed to have somebody there helping me for bathroom breaks and stuff like that, but I don't. And I just push through, and I just know that God is with me. I'm not afraid to call on him at this season in my life, and know that my help really does come from the Lord. And even in the times that I do have, help or stuff like that, I'll just laugh because I'm just better off with God sometimes. Like, he really looks out for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I definitely understand and agree. You got to call on God. He's the best. He's the best comforter. He's the best friend. And so he is the best. I definitely agree. And I want to thank you, ladies, so much for joining us tonight and being so courageous to share your testimony. And the reason why I felt like it was so important for us to have this is because I wanted our viewers, people who tune in with us, people who are a part of this community, to hear real and raw testimonies. I know sometimes we make it look good being up here, but behind the scenes, honey, it gets real. And so I really wanted everyone to be able to just get some different stories, see what we all go through, where we all come from, and then all come together in the name of Jesus. And so as we close this stream down, I would love to ask each of my guests, um, starting with Melanie first, how do you remain thankful? How do you remain thankful when you have questions, when God doesn't seem like he's coming through on time, when you're waiting for things that you've been praying for, when you have bad news coming from every side? How do you stay thankful? How do you muster up the courage just to utter thank you?
I remember where I came from. I haven't been this way forever. And I know that I literally have lost my mind before and been in a psychiatric hospital with absolutely no way to, I didn't even know how to think for myself. So I know where Jesus has brought me from. And so anytime I get down, I just look at, I know where I've been, I know what God has done, and I know who God is. So that gives me the strength to move.
That's good. Jeannine, what about you?
For me, I think I just remind myself that God has constantly done everything he said he would do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not talking about the materialistic things or the little fluffy stuff that God says he'll do for us that makes our flesh happy. But just like, I'm going to get you out of this toxic relationship and you'll survive. I'm going to help you raise your child by yourself. You're not going to lose your mind this time. I promise you, you'll get through it. Like, those things are reminders for me that God is so faithful and he's a consistent God. And the other day I was talking to someone and they were like, what's one of the things that you would want in a partner? And I was like, you fleshly think of all these other materialistic things or external things, right? But the word consistent came to my brain. The Lord put the word consistent in my mind. And I said, because man, to have such a consistent God, I don't think I could deal with someone who comes in and tries to be inconsistent. Like, when God proves himself faithful and consistent, there's nothing that you can do but just be grateful for him and be thankful for him.
Mm-hmm.
He will show up for you the way that no human being can show up for you. And so I know we like to hold people to such a high standard, but no one is ever going to be able to meet the standard of Christ, because he's just so consistent to the point where even the things I forget about that I prayed, he reminds me, you prayed for this and here it is. And then I'm like, okay, dang, now I got to do this. So so he's a consistent and faithful God, and I'm just grateful that he's too precise for me to ever try to be like him.
Amen. So good. Jeannine, what about you?
I have to keep it real with you ladies. For me, it's a decision. That even in my most frustrated moments, being a single mom to two boys, um, it's just really that decision that I have to make sometimes. I am going to be thankful, even though I could be a little bitter. I could be a little angry. I could be a little fed up right now. However, I'm choosing to be thankful. And even just saying those words out of your mouth, or even like I had mentioned before, just throwing on a worship song when you're not feeling thankful, um, is just my way of staying in that place of being
Mhm.
thankful at all times.
Yeah, that's powerful. Making it a choice, that is very, very powerful. Meaning I'm not even giving myself room to even complain. I'm just going to say thank you. So that is powerful. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing with us and again sharing your testimony. All of the viewers and those who will watch the replay, we hope that you have enjoyed it as well. Really quickly, APOM, we're actually ending our commitment for the fall. We've dedicated every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. And we've committed ourselves to pray for our youth. Once the Lord revealed that that was the enemy's target, we went on the wall and we began to pray. So we've been praying since September. We're actually close to the finish line. December, the month of December is our last month, December 21st. So if you want to join us as we close out this commitment, the prayer information is right here below. This is a prayer line, no access code, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday morning until December 21st is our last Day. So you feel free to join us. We're praying for our children, your children. And again, we're just standing on the wall for our babies. So please, if you're a mother, if you're a part of the village in any way, please join us to fulfill this assignment. Miss Melanie, Janae, and Jeannine, thank you so very much again for your testimonies. And APOM, we will see you next Tuesday. God bless you guys and good night.